difficult
and diarrhea.
In all of this, please make sure to maintain
to call the Delta State
On the Delta Rainbow Television main news, Governor Okowa restates commitment to sustain development of Delta states. Delta State government signs review GMOU with oil firm host communities. Federal Executive Council bars state governments from repairs of federal roads. Hold one-day prayer fasting on Friday. And abroad, Chinese government to ease coronavirus restrictions to allow more foreign carriers. Hello, very good evening. Welcome to the Delta Rainbow Television main news. My name is Godspa Omadebo. Also reading tonight,
I am Ori Esima Anirita. Welcome on board.
The news. Delta State Governor Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa says administration would maintain the pace of development of the state despite the challenges posed by the coronavirus pandemic. Government House correspondent Madam Wiki reports that Governor Okowa stated this on when he visited some project sites in Ika South and Ika Northeast local government areas of the state to ascertain the level of work. The reports.
The projects inspected by Governor Ifeanyi Okowa and his entourage include the Ali Hamid Agbunta Oki Road project in Ika South, construction and rehabilitation of Midoma Iwerabo Gully Erosion Site Owanta and the Federal Road Safety Intermediate School, both in Ika Northeast. Governor Okowa expressed happiness at the progress of work done so far at the FROLC Training School and urged the contracting firm to scale up efforts to meet the July deadline. Governor Okowa stated that a school is being constructed by the state government while the federal government will provide other things. At the Werebo Erosion Gully project site, Governor Okowa disclosed that the state government and the World Bank was partnering to rescue the area from being washed away by erosion, explaining that a lot of buildings were submerged and pulled down in the past before the intervention. At the Alihami Agbunta Oki Road, the governor said on completion it would aid the movement of people, goods and services from Agbo to Jise, Ogara, Saple, as well as connect some towns in Edo State. He said the projects would enhance the economy of the areas hosting them.
Despite the COVID and the slowdown in some of the things you're doing as a state, that there was a need to actually go around some projects, which I intend to continue in the course of the next 2 weeks.
At the erosion control side, the Commissioner for Environment, Mr. Chris Onogba, said the job was making good progress, affirming that it will be done to specification.
To further strengthen the bond of unity as well as deepen the existing relationship between Chevron Nigeria Limited, Baramatu Community Development Foundation, and the Delta State government, a reviewed global memorandum of understandings that will span for the next 4 years has been signed. The RTV News correspondent Ogene Runa Oyibo reports that the State Commissioner for Oil and Gas, Prince Emmanuel Agbaduba, who supervised the signing, addressed all parties involved in the GMOU coordinated by the State Ministry of Justice and praised them for show of maturity during the 6-month period of negotiation. The reports.
The signing of the Global Memorandum of Understanding GMOU between Chevron, executive of Egbema and Gbaramatu Community Development Foundation led by Comrade Jude Ukuri and the state government was witnessed by representatives of all parties involved. The State Commissioner for Oil and Gas, Prince Emmanuel Agbagba, hailed both parties for paving way for a smooth negotiation after the expiration of the GMOU, which lasted for 4 years. He noted that within the 6 months period of negotiation, there was no form of protest and petition from both parties appealing to other oil firms operating in the state and their host community to emulate Chevron and the EGCDF for a stronger synergy. While affirming that it takes collective will to achieve results, Prince Agbadugba praised the firm for not reneging on their corporate social responsibilities, appealing to the people of Egbema and Gbaramatu to replicate the meekness of the firm by sustaining the existing peace so as to boost the state oil revenue. The Oil and Gas Commissioner insisted that Governor Kowa is poised to ensuring that development gets to all parts of the state and sued for maximum support for the governor.
Both Chevron and the EGCDF have displayed maturity in their dealings. They've been patient with one another. They've applied the principles of jaw and not war. I would like to advise others to emulate them and continue to be in contact and discuss where you have differences. Table them and let's reach a compromise. I applaud them and I congratulate them for this successful signing of the GMOU today.
The General Manager, Policy, Government and Public Affairs, Chevron Nigeria Limited, Breaking, represented by the area manager Mr. Sam Daibu, hinted that the GMOU had reinforced their belief that a community-driven process can stimulate quicker community development than processes and systems designed without effective participation of community members. For his part, the chairman of the Egbema and Gbaramatu Communities Development Foundation, Comrade Jude Ukuri, said they are satisfied with the signed document, assuring that the renewed GMOU will further strengthen their bond of unity.
I will continue to support the development efforts of the communities as partners in a common progress. We are confident, therefore, that our communities will continue to ensure peaceful environment for business activities so that all the stakeholders will continue to benefit from Chevron's operations in Delta State.
I must say I am satisfied with what we have just signed. Even though there is no one single document contain all the yearning and aspirations of the people. But relatively, we are satisfied with what we have signed.
High point was the signing and handing over of the signed Global Memorandum of Understanding to the parties involved by the State Commissioner for Oil and Gas. The new GMOU, according to investigation, will be renewed in the next 5 years. For DRTV News, Oganerona Oibo reporting.
The Warri and Environs Development Agency WEDA on Wednesday monitored a number of projects executed as part of measures to fulfill the desire of the agency to Deltans. Chairman of WEDA, Dr. Joseph Otumara, led the project monitoring team to inspect the different projects, express satisfaction at the level of job executed by the different contractors handling the projects. The reports.
Dr. Joseph Otumara and other members of the Warri and Environs Development Agency first visited the drainage project at Ejeba, handled by the Levent Construction Company. The next port of call was a drainage project along the Nigerian Port Authority near Umuangwe in Warri. Dr. Otumara also inspected the ongoing drainage at Apala and ran the inspection at Ugolokbusu in Uwe local government area. In all the sites visited, Dr. Joseph Otumara commended the commitments they had put into that the level of the projects were encouraging despite the hindrance the COVID-19 pandemic posed to the contractors. Dr. Otumara also lauded the youths for not disturbing government's projects and urged them to sustain the good work, while reiterating the Delta State government's commitment to every. The Warri Uwe and Environs Development Agency chairman assured that more projects will be constructed.
This gigantic drainage system. The Warri Uwe has a master plan which was done many years ago, and I'm sure doing this. So everything put together is I want to say that one, the signboard where you are working, so that they know that this is the work of the agency.
Dr. Otumara said the projects were dear to the heart of Governor Okowa, who in his vision for a stronger Delta is irrevocably committed to impacting every area of the state with infrastructure for a socio-economic transformation. For their part, the different contractors handling the projects, including engineers Kasim Fadel, Williams Gabriel, Endurance Uzwa, and a chief consultant, Mr. John Onwalu, assured Dr. Joseph Otumara and members of the Warri Uwe and Environs Development Agency that they would complete the drainage projects in the contract. Two changes, operations including, they say, slowed down the leg.
The most important thing we have to keep some instead of staying at the house.
If the water will down,
we told them that the possible place we can discharge the whole water is through Panikaide Avenue. We went straight down to airport, big discharge cover, and we advise that we should widen that.
The Warri Uwe was created by the Okowa to give a facelift to the environment. Oris Federal Executive states from repairing federal roads in their roads. Method of the fact presided over Muhammad Buhari by Presidential Villa Abuja, as contained in a memo presented also of 148 billion 108 to on across 37,000 roads and one bridge. 8 with 6 roads, 822,000,000 77 naira 08 kobo. With 2 roads and 1 bridge got 2,4,938,876 naira 78 kobo. Others are Bayelsa 38.4 783 naira 40 kobo for works on 5 roads and 1 bridge, as well as 8 flyover bridge of the meter says that that 20 states federation for compensation risk from committee, it was the federal government should refund 550 million 306 297 million naira of the and they were federal government roads, adding that the claims of 5 other states, then including Cross Rivers, Ondo, Bayelsa and Osun, failed on the grounds of improper documentation, and the committee felt they needed proper documentation. To this end, Lai Muhammad noted that the committee went back with new terms of reference to ensure that the claims of the 5 states were in order, adding that the committees have now confirmed that the roads and the bridges were not only duly completed but were also in good form.
The House of Representatives has voted against a prayer seeking to recommend castration for rapists in Nigeria. The House at the plenary on Thursday considered and adopted a motion on the rising cases of sexual violence in Nigeria. A member of the House, Mr. James Faleke, had recommended that persons found guilty of rape should be castrated. Just before the prayer was subjected to a voice vote, the Speaker, Femi Gbajabiamila, however asked what would happen to an older female who rapes a younger male. The comment generated noise in the chamber and the nays had it. In honor of victims of sexual violence in Nigeria, the House resolved that members should be dressed in black on the next legislative day. The House expected to resume sitting on Tuesday next week.
2 persons connected to the incident that led to the death to the purported gang rape and murder of 100-level students of the University of Benin, UNIBEN, Vera Ruela Omozuma, has been moved to Abuja of Police Special Investigation Team. The report says the 2 suspects were identified as some persons allegedly involved in a fracas in the vicinity shortly before the incident.
Kaduna State High Court sitting in Dogarawa, Sabongari, Zaria has convicted one Usman Shehu Bashai of Dogarawa area to death by hanging for raping a 2-year, 9-month-old baby to death. Justice Kabai Dabo, who delivered judgment on Wednesday, said the judgment was in line with Section 221 of the Penal Code, Kaduna State Law 1999 as amended. The judge said the convict had confessed to the crime verbally and through his written statement, and going by the 2 confessional statements, the court passed the judgment. Justice Dabo said the convict has the right to appeal within 90 days of the judgment. On her part, the State Counsel, Jumai Dan Azimi, said the court has done justice to the case. Father of late Fatima, Malam Zakaria Yaru Dahiru, also noted that joining past on Usman has justified what he did to his daughter. The case, which began on the 23rd of March 2015 and lasted for 5 years, as investigation reveals that on the fateful day, the convict took late Fatima to his room and raped her for about 40 minutes, leading to her death.
The State Chief Judge Justice Marshal Mukuru will on Monday, June 8, 2020, embark on the second quarter of visits to the 5 custodial centers of the Nigerian Correctional Service across the state in Saple Remand Home. According to the itinerary, the Chief Judge's visit released by the Office of the Acting Chief Registrar, High Court of Justice, Delta State, Justice Umukuru will begin the visit with the custodial center warri on Monday, Monday, June 8 and Tuesday, June 9, 2020, while Sapele Custodial Center and Remand Home will be visited on Wednesday, June 10, 2020. The Chief Judge will be at our Custodial Center on Monday, June 15, 2020, while that of the Kwale Custodial Center is scheduled for Tuesday, June 16, 2020. The Chief Judge will round off the visit at Ogwashiku Custodial Center on Wednesday, June 17, 2020. The statement urges lawyers, security agencies, and stakeholders in the administration of criminal justice to be prepared for the proposed visit of the Chief Judge to make it successful.
The Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission, RMAFC, has opposed a request for 0.5% of additional to be deducted and transferred to the Police Trust Fund, PTF. The request was made by Minister of Police Affairs Mohammed Dingyadi through a prayer he wrote to the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed. Mr. Dingyadi is seeking a direct funding of the Police Trust Fund from the Federation accounts. A copy of the letter sent to the chairman of the RMAFC, Elias Mbam, which made reference to the Nigerian Police Trust Fund Establishment Act 2019, lists its sources of funding to include 0.5% of the total revenue accruing to the Federation accounts. Mr. Maigari requested the Finance Minister to issue directives to all appropriate authorities in charge of the Federation Account Allocation Committee, FAAC, to effect the monthly deductions in favor of the Police Trust Fund. He said all monthly deductions of the share of the Police Trust Fund from the Federation account should be transferred into a dedicated account effective January 2020. Mr. Megari also requested the Minister to direct the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, to deduct and remit 0.005% of the net profit of the companies operating in Nigeria to the Trust Fund, as stated in the Act effective January 2020. Also, he said the Minister should direct the Accountant General of the Federation to open a dedicated account for the Police Trust Fund in the Central Bank of Nigeria for the purpose of holding the remittances. The RMAFC said it has already sent a response to the Minister of Police Affairs to object to his request.
The National Insurance Commission, NICOM, has extended the deadline for insurance recapitalization exercise from December 31st, 2020 to September 30, 2021. With the extension of its initial deadline, it is expected that insurance companies, while completing the remaining stake by September 30, 2021, would have to meet 50% of their paid-up share capital by December 31, 2020. NICOM, in a circular sent to all insurance and reinsurance companies in the country, noted that the decision was necessitated by the incidences of COVID-19 pandemic, which has made it difficult to proceed as December 2020 recapitalization deadline. NICOM in the circular also explained that a review of the recapitalization deadline became unavoidable in order to ameliorate negative consequences virus pandemic on the exercise. And it further explained that the Commission has, however, extended and segmented the recapitalization process into two phases of 50% of the minimum paid up capital for insurance and 60% for reinsurance to be met by 31st December 2020, while insurance companies are required to fully comply with the approved minimum paid up capital not later than 30th September 2021. The insurance regulatory body said following the development, life insurance companies must have raised 4 billion naira of the expected 8 billion minimum paid up share capital by December 31st, 2020, with the remaining 4 billion naira expected to have been raised by September 30, 2021 to make up 8 billion naira. It says similarly, non-life insurance firm must have 5 billion recapitalization by December 31st, 2020 and be fully capitalized to 10 billion naira by September 30, 2020, even as composite insurer must have 9 billion naira December while completing it to 18 billion naira by September 30, 2021. Reinsurance companies were directed to first raise 60% of their paid-up capital by December 31st of the year, with the remaining 40% expected to have been realized by the end of the exercise in September next year, with 9 months still left to the deadline. The financial analyst said the investment climate in the world over is cloudy, with some of the investing firms from France, Italy, Spain, UK, US and other European countries who wanted to invest in the Nigerian insurance industry before now, either needing their respective governments' bailouts to stay afloat or needed time to recover financially. Moreover, the portfolio investors that have long fled the country shore with their investments are yet to return back, therefore further making it difficult for underwriting firms to raise funds to recapitalize within the next 6 months.
The Christian Association of Nigeria Can Delta State Chapter has declared Friday, 5th June 2020 as fasting and prayer for all Christians and churches in the states. A state member, Delta State Can Chairman, Senior Apostle Silvanus Okorote, says the fasting will be rounded off in churches at the service to be held for that purpose at 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. The statement adds that prayer points should include thanks to God for sparing the lives of Nigerians thus far, forgiveness of sins and mercy, healing for persons already infected with coronavirus, for God to stop the spread of the deadly virus in Delta State, Nigeria and the world at large. The statement also adds other prayer points to include for God to cut off the source of coronavirus and let it expire, for God to intervene and deliver Delta State from terrorist incursions, for God to strengthen Delta State security outfit codenamed Operation Delta Hawk, equip and give it a smooth takeoff, for God's protection for all spiritual, political, traditional and industrial leaders, for post-COVID-19 economic recovery, and for God to strengthen His church and ministers. The statement explained that churches should observe social distances, wear face masks, wash hands and use sanitizers among others during the program.
The member representing Delta South, Mr. Mofe Edema, says Governor Ifeanyi Okowa is very passionate towards achieving a cleaner Delta State before the end of his second tenure. Mr. Edema says this while supervising a 2-day general cleanup of Warri Metropolis by the agency. Correspondent Felix Eko has details.
Since 2019, when Governor Ifeanyi Okowa constituted a new team for the Delta State Waste Management Board with Honorable Emmanuel Bazum Chinye as chairman, the agency has stepped up cleanup of the state. The agency has also introduced some innovations in its operations. One of the innovations, according to Mr. Mofe Edema, who represents Delta South on the board, is the strategic mapping of the Warri Metropolis to guide against lopsidedness in any cleanup exercise. Among the areas captured during the 2-day general cleanup of the metropolis carried out on Tuesday and Wednesday were the stretch of the Agric Research Center on the Warri Supply Road down to Warri Garage through Cemetery, Odion and Okere Roads. Also were Deco Road, Avenue through Airport Road to Airport Junction, Ogunu Road, with particular attention to the Ogunu Bridge, Ugboangwe and Isisi Road. During the exercise, sweepers engaged by the Delta State Waste Management Board were seen sweeping designated areas, which was accompanied with general picking of debts littering the town.
The essence is to have a cleaner Delta. The governor is very, very passionate about the environment. And that is why you can see that he makes provision available at all times for the environment to be clean. And I thank God for the kind of board chairman that I also have too. Passionate. And we, the members, are also passionate about the environment. And that's what we are seeing today.
Mr. Edema sued for the cooperation of residents by ensuring proper disposal of their waste. He appealed to them to patronize the private sector partner, PSP, for the disposal of their refuse, urging them to report erring PSPs to the agency.
They need to cooperate even more. Like I would say, let's own the environment. Patronize the PSP. You can see the sweepers on the road. Those sweepers are from Waste Management Board. We have designated area where they are sweeping for now. God will also increase.
Mr. Edema expressed optimism that with the needed cooperation from Deltans, the passion of Governor Okowa to achieve a cleaner Delta would be realized. Felix Eko, drtv News.
The State Governor Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa has congratulated his Bayelsa State counterpart, Senator Doye Diri, as he clocked 61 years Thursday. In a statement by State Press Secretary Mr. Olisa Ife-Ajika, in Asaba, Governor Okowa extolled Governor Diri for his tremendous contributions through service to the development of his state and country. According to the statement, the sterling contributions of Governor Diri to development of Bayelsa and Nigeria as a former commissioner and lawmaker are remarkable. The statement noted that the governor, since assumption of office, has demonstrated determination and was doing everything possible to achieving his greater Bayelsa vision. Governor Okowa, while congratulating Governor Diri on behalf of his family, government and people of Delta State, also noted that he is a gentleman of honor and integrity, a promising leader of this generation, and a consummate politician. You're watching Delta Rainbow Television Main News. We'll take a break for commercial messages. We'll be back shortly.
It is a very challenging time for us all. We must therefore come together, support our government and health personnel to fight against and stop the spread of coronavirus pandemic. We must endeavor to prevent infections by washing your hands with soap and running water for at least 20 seconds.
You can also use alcohol-based hand sanitizer if you don't have immediate access to soap and water.
It is natural to cough and sneeze, but when you do it into your elbow like this, or into a tissue paper like this. Dispose immediately on around you.
In these trying times, it is important to avoid unnecessary socializing. As much as you can, avoid crowded spaces.
Maintain at least 6 feet between yourself and the next person. Make sure to wear a face mask whenever you appear in public. Avoid touching your face, especially your eyes, nose and mouth.
And when you feel sick, please, by all means necessary, stay at home and immediately seek medical attention.
Most importantly, if you are experiencing symptoms like fever,
dry cough, running nose,
body ache,
sore throat, difficulty in breathing,
tiredness and diarrhea.
In all of this, please make sure to maintain good personal hygiene.
Please do not hesitate to call the Delta State COVID-19 response number.
Beyond ensuring food security and exploring investment potentials, the Okowa-led administration has identified agriculture as one way to create jobs for the people of Delta State. The dividends of this abound in testimonies across Delta State.
country people, not be news again say coronavirus COVID-19 don't land Naija. Mama, papa, how una take dey protect una self and una family? World Health Organization WHO, Delta State government through the Ministry of Health say make una dey wash una hand every time with the soap water. Use sanitizer for your hand. Stop to dey hug or shake people anyhow. Make they touch your eye, nose, mouth or even ear sef. Stay for your ass and stop to dey mix with people for crowd. When you sneeze, no use handkerchief, use tissue paper and throw am away one time. Abeg o, stop to dey spread fake news and make una no fear. The Delta State government e dey gidigba to make sure say we dey kampe. My people, as we continue to do wetin government say make we do and pray, God go help us to stay safe. Now the wife of the governor of Delta State and founder 05 Initiative, Dim Iritokowa, now they bring una this message.
You're welcome back. Still on the drtv news. Today is the International Day of Innocent Children Victim of Aggression. The United Nations in August 1982 set aside June 4 to acknowledge the pain suffered by children throughout the world who are the victims of physical, mental and emotional abuse. This day reaffirms the United Nations commitment to protect the rights of children all over the world.
Sequel to Declaration of June 4 as International Day of Innocent Children Victims of Aggression, some analysts and psychologists in Warri have called on government at all levels to create awareness with the aim of discouraging the mental, physical and emotional abuses meted out to children all over the world. The RTV News correspondent Ifeanyi Onyecheke completes the story. The reports.
The International Day of Innocent Children Victims of Aggression, proclaimed by the United Nations in August 1982, was an outcome of the acts of aggression faced by Palestinian and Lebanese children in Israel. It is worthy of note that the situations where conflict breaks out, innocent children who are mostly vulnerable usually fall victim of such circumstances. Other circumstances such as recruitment and use of children in war, killing, sexual violence, abduction, attacks on schools, hospitals, denial of humanitarian access, amongst others, are the challenges the United Nations seeks to address by proclaiming June 4 to annually sensitize the society against these atrocities that children go through. Speaking on the significance of the day, a lecturer from the Department of Educational Psychology, College of Education, Warri, Dr. Helena Agbajo, stated that the idea of creating awareness against the abuses of children should not be left for the government alone. Dr. Agbajo urged parents to be in the forefront of protecting the rights of the children, even as she frowned at the maltreatment children go through in the name of punishment.
Parents need to be aware of this, that as they are developing using different parenting styles to train up their children, they must adopt the ones that will help the children to learn well, and not the ones that will make the children at the end of the day to grow up and become hardened. Some of these children will see that are hardened criminals, who steals, who tell lies, who does one negative thing or the other. It is as a result of the type of parenting styles that was used on them.
Also speaking, a public affairs analyst, Dr. Ifeanyi Oko, condemned in strong terms the different abuses that are meted out on children all over the world. Dr. Oko, who pointed out that these abuses often form negative impression on the minds of children, sued for more advocacy campaigns with a view to ending the ugly trend.
If you allow a child to grow up knowing the fact that he or she is daily being harassed, they will have a negative attitude towards the world, and it will affect their development and affect the way they see things in the world.
Following the groundbreaking Garcia Marquez report, which drew global attention to the devastating impacts of armed conflicts on children, In 1997, the United Nations General Assembly adopted the rights of children. With these and other achievements targeted at safeguarding the rights of children, it is expected that the abuses on children worldwide will become a thing of the past. For drtv News, Ifeanyi Onyejike reporting.
Nigerian Center for Disease Control, NCDC, has announced that 348 new cases of COVID-19 have been recorded in Nigeria, bringing the total number of infection in the country to 11,166. The NCDC, in a tweet, said the 348 new cases were recorded in Lagos 163, FCT 76, and Ebonyi 23. It listed others to be Rivers 21, Delta, Nasarawa and Niger with 8 cases each, Enugu 6, Bauchi, Edo, Ekiti, Ondo, Gombe 5 cases each, Benue 4, Ogun 2 and 1 each in Osun, Plateau, Kogi and Anambra states. The NCDC explained that of the total infection cases of 11,166, 3,329 have been treated and discharged, with 7,522 active cases in the country, while 315 deaths have been recorded. The health agency also says that Lagos State remains the epicenter of the virus in the country. FCT and Kano States accounted for 64.2% of the total number of the coronavirus cases recorded in the country. The NCDC noted that available statistics in its disposal shows that so far Lagos State recorded 5,440 cases, FCT 763, while Kano State recorded 970, which amounted to 11,166, making the two states plus the FCT to account for 64.2% of the total number of infections in the country. According to the agency, 33 states accounts for 36% of the total infections in the country.
Meanwhile, the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, NCDC, claims that 75% of the COVID-19 cases in the country have unknown sources of infection. The NCDC, explaining via a post on its website, said the development was normal for a respiratory virus and suggested ongoing community transmission in the country. The health agency, speaking further on reasons for the members of the public to adhere to healthy precautionary measures, noted that for families with loved ones abroad or in another state who are passed on due to complications from COVID-19, transporting their remains is a tough process. It says it has developed a guide to ensure efficient transportation in compliance with the regulations, noting that the interim guidance is based on what is currently known about COVID-19. To explain that the virus is spreading through contact with contaminated respiratory droplets released when an infected person coughs or sneezes, or from contact with contaminated hands and surfaces of objects. He said that funeral directors and mortuary personnel were less likely to contract COVID-19 from deceased persons infected with the virus if they adopt appropriate infection control procedures and wear appropriate personal protection. The agency said precautionary strategies should be used to minimize public health risk and to prevent further spread of the disease.
And from the foreign scene, the Chinese government says it will ease the coronavirus restriction to allow more foreign countries. The Civil Aviation Administration of China, CAAC, in a statement on Thursday, said qualifying foreign carriers currently barred from operating flights to China will be allowed once-a-week flights into a city of their choice with effect from June 8. This and other reports is brought to you from our foreign desk. The decision by the Chinese government to ease coronavirus restrictions to allow more foreign carriers is coming shortly after the U.S. vowed to suspend Chinese passengers' planes from flying into the country due to Beijing's curbs on American airlines. A statement from the Civil Aviation Administration of China, CAAC, says that all airlines will be allowed to increase the number of international flights involving China to a maximum of 2 per week if no passengers on their flights test positive to COVID-19 for 3 consecutive weeks. It further explained that should 5 passengers or more on one flight test positive for the coronavirus upon arrival, the CAAC would bar the airline from service for a week, while airlines will be suspended for 4 weeks if 10 passengers or more test positive. Still from China, its National Health Commission has reported 1 new coronavirus case and 4 new asymptomatic COVID-19 cases. The Health Commission says the 5 cases were imported as the people were travelers from overseas, although China does not count asymptomatic patients, but those who infected with the coronavirus but with symptoms cases has so far recorded cases of infections at 83,022, while the death toll still remains at 4,634. From the United States, President Donald Trump is facing an unprecedented revolt from the mass protest and inflaming of a racial divide. James Mattis, in a statement, said U.S. Trump is the first president who is not trying to unite the American people, and Americans are now witnessing the consequences of 3 years without matured leadership. He criticized the president for threatening to deploy regular troops to quell unrest in a flagrant threat to U.S. political stability.
The option to use active duty forces in a law enforcement role should only be used as a matter of last resort.
Activities preceding the burial of the late Olaraja Obiteugbo in Warri North Local Government Area, PAR W.E. Princeville, will commence on Thursday, June 4, 2020, that's today, with service of song already held on Friday. Tomorrow, June 5th, 2020, an open-air funeral service would be conducted by the Foursquare Gospel Church at Obiteugbo Field, to be followed by interment. Traditional rite will take place at the Olaraja premises at Obiteugbo. The late PAR W.E. Princeville was aged 90 and is survived by a wife, Mrs. Deborah Princeville, many children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, including a former Deputy General Manager, News and Current Affairs, DBS Warri, Mrs. Evelyn Utunye, and Delta State Commissioner for Women Affairs, Community and Social Development, Mrs. Flora Alatan, among other relatives.
In another development, the death has been announced of Mr. E. Gabis, who retired as a senior mechanical superintendent of the Delta State Civil Service. Late Mr. Gabis, who served meritoriously until his retirement, recently received the award of Certificate of Excellence in the Civil Service during the 4th anniversary of the creation of Delta State by the then military administrator, Group Captain Ibrahim Kefas, in August 1995. Married with children, late Mr. Gabis was one of the pioneer staff of the Bureau for Special Duties and worked at various times in Benin, Warri, and Asaba. Described as humble, honest, industrious, and accommodating officer, late Gabis worked on the backstage during efforts by the state government in resolving the Warri crisis. He passed on after a boot mishap and as is fondly remembered by staff of Governor's Office Annex, as well as the former state head of service, Mr. Patrick Smith. His burial arrangements will be made later by the family.
Now let's look at the weather for Warri and its environs for tomorrow, Friday, 5th June through Sunday, 7th June 2020. On Friday, there will be few thunderstorms. The day will be mostly cloudy with temperature rising up to 31 degrees Celsius high and 24 degrees low. On Saturday, there will be thunderstorm early, The day will be partly sunny and temperatures will rise up to 30 degrees Celsius high and 20 degrees low. On Sunday, there will be thunderstorms. The day will be mostly cloudy with temperature rising up to 29 degrees Celsius high and 24 degrees low. The Warri weather forecast is courtesy timeanddate.com. And that's the size of the bulletin for today. Quickly, some of the stories that made the headlines. Delta State Governor Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa says administration would maintain the pace of development of the state despite the challenges posed by the coronavirus pandemic. Governor Okowa said this Thursday when he visited some project sites in the Ika South and Ika Northeast local government areas of the state to ascertain the level of work. We also told you that further to strengthen the bond of unity as well as deepen the existing relationship between Chevron Nigeria Limited, Egbema Agbaramatu Community Development Foundation and Delta State governments. The reviewed Global Memorandum of Understanding GMOU that will span for the next 4 years have been signed. Delta State Commissioner for Oil and Gas Prince Emmanuel Angbaduba, who supervised the signing, addressed all parties involved in the GMOU, coordinated by the State Ministry of Justice, and praised them for the show of maturity during the 6 months period of negotiation. That's the news. Thanks for your time. Good night.
Yes, thanks for being part of the news. I am Oris Asima and I return to have a wonderful night ahead of you.
Souvenir is 1,875 naira. How much will it cost to get for 750 guests?
1,406,250 naira.
Correct. So girl is very sharp.
She takes after her brother. For years, cowbell milk has been building great minds and strong bodies.
Ma, me too. I like to have brain.
Cowbell, our milk.
This is Celebration Box on Delta Rainbow Television, and I'm your anchor for this program. My name is Oboke of Monigo. Today is the first day in the month of June 2020, and we're going to be celebrating some very special persons. When I say special, I mean really special. The first person on my list is Junior Benjamin. Junior Benjamin is a very young musician. Junior Benjamin, though he may be visually impaired, but he is mentally and spiritually on the right track. Well done, Junior, as you celebrate your birthday today. Delta Rainbow Television celebrates with you. Well done, darling. We love you and we say congratulations.
Everybody come down. Everybody come down.
Was born on the 4th of June. Itamesim is a teacher and is also an evangelist. He loves preaching the word of God. Family means everything to him. Well done, Itam. I celebrate your birthday today. That's on Rainbow Television. Celebrate with you.
We don't
gonna do tonight? I'm feeling you tonight. It's my best day. It's my best day. It's my best day. It's my best day. What we gonna do tonight? I'm feeling you tonight. It's my best day. 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 This is for my London. I'm feeling like I can today. But that boy Colin Cadero. Colin Cadero is a young man. Colin Cadero is the director of years of Jesus Christ. Colin Cadero is a man of God. Yes, well done, Colin Cadero. Keep working in the vineyard of God. As you do that, God will surely bless you. Delta River Television felicitates with you and celebrates your birthday. Congratulations. Of June 2020. We're celebrating your birthday this month. Please do us send some copies of your photos on Facebook at Celebration Box. On Instagram, it's Celebration Box. And on Twitter, it's also Celebration Box. Please follow us on all our social media platforms and we will follow you right back. Thank you so much for watching. I'm your anchor and my name is Oboke of Monigo. See you next time on Celebration Box. Bye for now.